Don't be afraid to comment and give me your observations and your opinions on what happened, what transpired between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. A lot of people saying different things. Some people saying that Shakur Stevenson is not half Puerto Rican, and he is half Puerto Rican. But a lot of people, African Americans, nothing against them. I got love for them because I grew up with African Americans in Marble Projects, Brooklyn, and that's family to me. But some of the African Americans that are not from New York or the East Coast or the North, they have a different mentality, and they don't want to understand that there's Puerto Ricans that are blacker than African Americans. There's actually Puerto Ricans that are actually dark skinned, really dark skinned, a lot, because Atlantic slave trade was actually bigger in Latin America. There was more Atlantic slave trade in Latin America and the Caribbean. But let's not talk about that. I want to talk about everything that's going on in boxing right now. March 28th, we're going to have Fundora versus Keith one-time Thurman. And what do you guys think about that fight? I think that's a really good, intriguing fight. Very interesting. I would say I would give Keith one-time Thurman the edge in boxing ability and timing, and he has a lot of footwork. And I believe that Fundora doesn't use his height to his advantage. He crouches too much forward and fights inside when he doesn't really need to, if he doesn't have to. If he uses his reach from afar, he has a long reach and he's a tall fighter, he should use his 6.3 foot height to his advantage and make it harder for Keith one-time Thurman or his adversaries in general, which he doesn't really do that. He usually throws the jab, but then he goes forward too much and he crouches and fights on the inside too much when he really doesn't have to do that with his height. With his height, he should take advantage of that and the long reach and the jab. And he should make full use of his attributes, but he doesn't fight that way. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. So, I don't know. I believe that the Keyshawn Davis on the undercard of Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez was very impressive. His win against Jermaine Ortiz. I was really impressed with his last minute 12-round knockout body shot, which he was able to pull it off at the 12th round, knocking out Jermaine Ortiz, which is a very, very formidable and skillful fighter who gave Teofimo Lopez fits, and I think he actually beat Teofimo Lopez, and he actually gave Lomachenko a good fight, and I think he beat Lomachenko. It was a close fight. It could have went either way. I think he has been not been given the benefit of the doubt in a lot of his fights when he boxed and used his footwork, and I feel like they never gave him the benefit of the doubt in those two fights. But Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson was very interesting. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Check out the background. Yeah, Tony also knows boxing. Do not be afraid of the truth. Do not be afraid to embrace this channel. Subscribe and click like. Only the strong and the intelligent and the real want to hear what Tony also has to say on my channel. Tony also knows boxing. I don't hold back. I tell the truth. So let me slow down a little bit. Shakur Stevenson, I was saying to a lot of people before the fight, months leading up to the fight between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, that Teofimo Lopez his mindset is not right, and he's not the same fighter that he was when he beat Lomachenko. He was living off that victory, and he had lost to Kambosos, who lost to Devin Haney twice, back-to-back fights in Australia, and he got knocked out by Richard Hitchinson. Kambosos. So Kambosos was a one-dimensional fighter, limited, and a lot of the fanboys of Teofimo Lopez, like what's his name, Punch Drunk, he was actually saying that Teofimo Lopez is a better boxer than Shakur Stevenson, and he was going to win, and now he's eating crow. Now he's eating crow. Art of boxing for you. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Sup, Tony? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Subscribe to the channel. So, yeah, he's actually backpedaling now, and he's giving Shakur Stevenson his props, and Shakur Stevenson stood in front of Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez had no answer, no way to really set up the pace the way he wanted to in the fight with Shakur Stevenson. Like, he could never set up the pace. Like, he couldn't go inside the way he wanted to, because Even though Shakur Stevenson stayed right in front of him, he always knew how to move at the right time. And he's not a runner like a lot of people were making about Shakur Stevenson. He's actually a very, very skillful defensive fighter who also throws a lot of offense as well. And he just kept throwing the right hand to Teofimo Lopez's face the whole night to his eyes, to his face. Even landing where I actually thought he almost knocked down Teofimo Lopez. And I think that if Shakur Stevenson would have upped the ante a little more and keep hitting him, Teofimo Lopez in the eye, they could have stopped the fight. He should have actually capitalized on that, but I guess he stayed disciplined and focused, and he didn't want to take unnecessary chances, which I believe that Shakur Stevenson is not a boring fighter, very talented, and he has a lot in his arsenal, and his defense is impeccable. And Shakur Stevenson proved what he's made of, that, and all the people that supported Teofimo Lopez, and I don't mind you supporting him, but don't be a blind fan like Punch Drunk and Low Nose Boxing, which always tries to go at it with me on my channel, and I respect them coming in my channel. But at the same time, Tony also knows boxing, because Low Nose Boxing was wrong about Teofimo Lopez beating Shakur Stevenson. He was just putting on too much of his pom-poms and being a blind, emotional fan when he wasn't looking at the stats between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. Shakur Stevenson's is levels above Shakur Stevenson. And anybody who knows boxing for real, who's not a fanboy that's emotional, that doesn't use the logic, doesn't use emotional intelligence, they're going to say things based on their emotions, not the logic of the stats of both fighters. That's why Low Nose Boxing was totally wrong and totally off, and so was Punch Drunk, because they were emotional fans of Teofimo Lopez, not logical fans of Teofimo Lopez. So that's why they fell short in their predictions, and that's why Teofimo Lopez fell short in winning the fight against Shakur Stevenson, because he didn't have the tools to beat somebody at that level, that stature, like Shakur Stevenson is. He is on another level. And let's give him the credit that he deserves. Let's give him his flowers. And it's not about race. It's about the great talent that these boxers have. Yes, boxing is a racial sport, and we're going to support the fighters that we feel more connected to based on culture sometimes. But you got to be realistic. Just because a fighter is of your culture, if you see a fighter that's not of your culture, that has the ability and more skills, you got to be realistic too. So yeah, you can root for the fighter that you want, but at the same time, you got to know realistically who has the possibilities based on their stats and their technical abilities and their power and their endurance on who's going to win the fight. You should make an assessment on that, not on race. But anyway, subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. And Max Kellerman said something idiotic, which I think he's an overrated boxing analyst. He said many stupid things in the past about Golovkin, but I don't want to get into that. You can watch my previous videos and you'll see my assessment on what I think about what he said about Golovkin. Because so anyway, I believe that what did he say? He said that Teofimo Lopez had no plan. It's not that Teofimo Lopez didn't have a plan against Shakur Stevenson. It's that Shakur Stevenson didn't allow Teofimo Lopez to set up the way he always does with everybody else. And that's the reason. Shakur Stevenson made him look like an average, one-dimensional fighter. He's not one-dimensional. It's just that the style of Shakur Stevenson is just too much. He times you, he fights you inside, and if you try to do anything like, he's going to counter you right away, and he knows how to defend himself on the inside and move. He doesn't necessarily run. So I think he used that to his advantage, and every time Teofimo Lopez tried to go inside, he couldn't really stay stationary because he was afraid that he was going to get countered, and that's exactly what was happening to Teofimo Lopez all night. So he had to fight. He tried to box with Shakur Stevenson, which is impossible for somebody like Teofimo Lopez to actually beat Shakur Stevenson at his own game. That's impossible. So there's levels to this, and I think Shakur Stevenson showed his level and showed the lack of ability that Teofimo Lopez had in contrast with Shakur Stevenson. So all those people that said that Teofimo Lopez was this, that he was going to beat him, that he was a better boxer, they don't know what they're talking about. And now they feel so stupid right now, so idiotic. Like Low Nose Boxing didn't know. Punch Drunk didn't know. They didn't get their facts straight. They just went by emotion and not using the emotional intelligence. They only went by emotion. And you can't go by emotion. You got to go by statistic, by the stats, the resume, what the abilities, the eyeball test, everything. You got to look at who they beat, who they didn't beat. But remember, styles make fights, and it's not always who they beat, but it's just the way that Teofimo Lopez looked against Sandor Martin, against Cambosis. It just tells you everything about him. Yeah, somebody's interrupting. Somebody's calling. So let me respond to the comments. Let me respond to click out the comments. All right, Art of Boxing for you. Right, all right. Art of Boxing for you. He gave him a boxing class, whipping Shakur tools, his ability to do anything. Tio was too slow for Shakur. Punch Drunk is a fanatic, not a fan. Well, Punch Drunk, fanatic is a fan, but he's basically a fanatic. It's like more like extreme. Yeah, so you're right. So yeah, he's more like an extremist fan. It's not like he's biased. A fanatic is extreme. I'm a fan of boxing, yes, but at the same time, I have to look at all the intangibles. Art of Boxing for you. Thanks for your comments. And it's not based on just being extreme with your fanaticism. You have to be logical with your fanaticism. So it could go two ways. You got to be logical about both. Fighters. Not based on emotion and just because you have a preference. You still have to be realistic and look at both intangibles. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. I'm really impressed with Keyshawn Davis' victory. He came from like the fight was pretty much Keyshawn Davis. He was actually winning the fight, but he had moments where he was dealing with the boxing ability of Jermaine Ortiz. But I believe the way he punches Keyshawn Davis, he's really good at going into the body, and he has boxing ability himself. So it was pretty dope the way he got tested to go all the way to the 12th round and got a 12th round knockout, which is really good on his resume against a formidable, great, talented boxer like Jermaine Ortiz. That's a good look on him. And I'm really high on Jermaine. I was high on Jermaine as far as his skills and his ability and his versatility, but I'm really high on Keyshawn Davis. I really am a fan of Keyshawn Davis. And another thing, Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas looked superb in his last fight. I like what he did. He showed his boxing ability. He showed his level. And I really think that he's not a power hitter, but he can hurt you with his combinations because his speed and his defense is impeccable. I think he got hit a couple of times by Abbas Barral, but this is boxing. It's not going to be perfect, but I think it was almost a flawless performance from Xander Zayas. And now he's the WBA and WBO champion, unified at the 154-pound division. After the fight, he called out De La Hoya on his comments saying that you can't sell a big fight in Puerto Rico. And he proved that De La Hoya was just talking without knowledge and talking out of his butt with no knowledge. He said, look at the people over here. Whoever says that Puerto Rico can't sell, we sell, we can sell. And he dedicated his victory to all the people in the caseríos, a La Margarita, which I used to hang out there with my cousin, who, God rest his soul, who passed away, Carlos. He dedicated the victory of winning the WBO and the WBA against Abbas Barral to all the people in the caseríos and in the projects in Puerto Rico that they can make it to give them inspiration. I was crying when I heard that speech. I was crying. And Bill Haney on the Boxing Voice, shout out to the Boxing Voice. Bill Haney said that Xander Zayas, when they asked Bill Haney, would you have Devin Haney fight Xander Zayas? Because now he never spoke about moving up in weight, but he said that Bill Haney said that Xander Zayas is food for Devin Haney. Do you guys think Xander Zayas is food for Devin Haney? I think Devin Haney did good against what's the guy who he defeated? Brian, the one that he defeated, the undefeated fighter. Do you know? Give me, mention it in the comments. Art of Boxing for you. The guy who he just defeated, Devin Haney. What was his name? You know his name, right? And by the way, Teofimo is going to get hurt at the 147 class. Too much. It's too much. Yeah, I agree. I agree. No, I'm saying the fighter that Devin Haney beat by unanimous decision. Was his name Brian? His name was Brian, right? Yeah, the guy that he beat. It was an undefeated fighter. You know his name? No, Brian Norman. Yeah, Brian Norman. Yep, I got the first name right. Thank you, Art of Boxing for you. I appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into the channel. Don't be afraid to click the like button. Don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel. My channel is growing. I thank all of you for being part of it. And we got Abisael Cotto. I'm going to interview him. Check out my latest interview with Abisael Cotto. He's gonna fight March 19th on DAZN, promoted by Universal Promotions and Salida Promotion. That's gonna be big. He is at the 130-pound division. Abisael Cotto is a really good friend of mine. We have a really good relationship. We always do interviews. And Stephanie Pinheiro is also fighting Price. I gotta try to see if I can get an interview with Stephanie Pinheiro. She's fighting Price for the championship, and I think it's at the 147-pound division. And that's an interesting fight. So I got to see if I could get Stephanie Pinheiro in my interview as well. And Abisael Cotto is supposed to give me another interview as well. But check out the latest one that I interviewed him. And I'm supposed to interview Abisael Cotto soon, because now he has the date official. He gave me the date in private, the actual date, but I couldn't say it or announce it because we agreed not to talk about it publicly on my channel until he got it confirmed from his company, Universal Promotion. So now it's official. March 19th, Abisael Cotto fights on DAZN against a Mexican opponent. Don't know the opponent's name yet, but I'm going to ask Abisael Cotto what's the name of the opponent in my next interview with him. But you can check out my previous interview in the video section. Also, Shakur Stevenson, he was stripped of the title at the 135 division. The WBC stripped him, saying because the WBC regulations does not allow multiple champion in 140 and 135-pound division. So he was stripped right after he beat Teofimo Lopez for the 140 WBO championship. And Shakur Stevenson slams the WBC for stripping him. And he said the real reason why they stripped him is because he didn't pay the $100,000 fee for holding the belt at 135. And I don't knock him. He has the right not to pay the fee. They want to make their money off the fighter possessing the belts. That's how they are, the organizations. There's a lot of politics. And, they charge a lot. And, the fighters, they have their right to not allow that. And Shakur Stevenson is going to, I guess, most likely stay at the 140-pound division weight class. So that weight division has Richardson Hitchin, has, I believe, Pitbull Cruz, has Lamont Roach, and Subriel Matias. Let's not forget Subriel Matias. But, after that fight with Subriel Matias, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of stuff, man. I think Shakur Stevenson is at another level. So, I don't know. I never count out Subriel Matias. He's still a force to be reckoned with. But I don't want to get into what happened, what transpired in the previous fight. And Xander Zayas called out Josh Kelly. He said, Josh Kelly, if you want this, after your fight, well, because he already won. He beat Mutsal Zalayev. He beat him in impressive fashion, by the way. And now I think Josh Kelly is going to be most likely fighting Xander Zayas. I don't think Virgil Ortiz wants that smoke. I don't think De La Hoya wants that smoke. And De La Hoya is having problems with getting sued. Virgil Ortiz filed a lawsuit against Oscar De La Hoya. So that Oscar has a bad track record. Canelo left him too. So it's just a lot. So I just feel that based on the last performance from Xander Zayas, I believe Xander Zayas is a force to be reckoned with. He doesn't have the most powerful punches, but I think he has a lot of speed, a lot of defense, a lot of boxing ability. And I believe that he can hurt you if he catches you the right way. But I believe he was just being too friendly with Abbas Barral after the fight, hugging him too much and giving him too much credit. I think that boxers got to be a little bit more grimy when it comes to, like, competitiveness. Like, you finished the fight, okay, you did a good fight, you did good, you did well, but don't be overly friendly. That's just too much. That's going on too much in boxing. I think that if you're fighting somebody, you should not be overly friendly. You shouldn't hold back. I'm not saying that Xander Zayas held back. Maybe he could have, because they're friends, and I feel like that friendly stuff after the fight was unnecessary. I feel like you go for blood when you're fighting somebody, regardless if you're friends outside of the ring. You go for blood in the ring, and I still am impressed with Xander Zayas. I think that he probably. I'm not gonna say. I'll say this. Jerome Boots Ennis versus Xander Zayas is a 50-50 fight. Now that I see that, the way he performs, his skill level, he's at that level. And Virgil Ortiz, I don't think Virgil Ortiz can do anything major to Xander Zayas. I believe that Xander Zayas will run circles around him, will outbox him, outclass him, and will beat him with no issues. Because all he has is brute power, and not one punch power, but he has brute force. He doesn't have any boxing ability. I don't think that that Virgil Ortiz has boxing ability. I don't think so. Okay, let me read some of the comments. I just spoke to her trainer a few minutes ago, and he was taking her to get some sparring, and that is messed up because he could fight both divisions as long as he fights in a timely manner. Nah, they have history. They just didn't just meet. Who are you talking about? Who has history? As far as Abbas Barral, they have history with Xander Zayas. Abbas Barral, but I don't think they were, because I heard in the interview, and this is what Xander Zayas said himself. He said that it's not somebody. Abbas Barral. They respect each other in the ring as far as the sparring, and they're friends. But he said they're not close. He said that he wouldn't call Abbas Barral and have a conversation with him like a friend would, like on a regular basis. No, he didn't have like a real close relationship with Abbas Barral. If you want, you can watch the videos where Xander Zayas actually said that. He says that Abbas Barral is not the type of person that he would have a conversation with on the phone. That's what Xander Zayas said. So they weren't friends and buddy like the way they were over emphasizing it on the show, the commentators on the boxing event in Puerto Rico. Like, they were overemphasizing the friendship, which it wasn't really true. They weren't really close friends. They just were boxing, sparring friends, but not like intimately close, like the way they were portraying it on the boxing event when they were fighting in Puerto Rico, as the commentators were alluding to. They didn't have no close bond like that. It wasn't like that. They spar a lot, and when that happens, you build a friendship. It does not have to be close. Yeah, they have a friendship, but they don't have a friendship where they actually communicate on a regular basis as buddies on the phone. Because Xander Zayas said that himself. So you can check out the interview, and if you don't believe me, you can check out. So that's the latest. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to the channel. Do not be afraid to subscribe. Click like. And I look forward to engaging with all of you and Art of Boxing for you. Thanks for tuning into the channel, my brother. Subscribe to the channel. Do not be afraid to click the like button, everyone who's tuning in. And do not forget that I'm going to have an interview with Abisal Cotto. And I'm going to interview him in Spanish, because all the channel, I interview all the boxers from Puerto Rico in Spanish. And I'm supposed to get Joey Borrero back on as well. And he has a fight as well. So, yeah, subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Check out the background. Tito Trinidad. Albizu Campo. Got Muhammad Ali that I met when I was 13 years old in Coney Island, Brooklyn, where I'm from. Marlboro Projects is one stop away from Coney Island. Got the Yankees right there. Roberto Clemente. You know how we do. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Be on the lookout for Abisal Cotto. I'm going to interview him very soon. And check out all the interviews in my video section. I'm trying to surpass 1,000 subscribers. And I thank everybody for tuning into the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Click that like button. Comment and voice your opinions. Voice your opinions. Let me know what you think. Thank you, Art of Boxing, for subscribing, and also for your comments and your participation on my channel. One love. Peace.